So today we're going to talk about why high performers feel stuck and what to do about it. So if you're successful by every external measure, but you feel completely stuck in your career, you're not alone. I work with military officers, MBA graduates, high achieving professionals who all ask me the same question. Why do I feel so lost when I should have it all figured out, right? I think that's the challenge. I should have it all figured out. That is an assessment. That is a story that we tell ourselves that I should have it figured out, but I don't. What's going on? So today I'm going to show you why this happens to high performers and how we can break free from that. So let me just kind of paint the picture, right? You've checked all these boxes. Right? For some, it'd be, military service, top MBA school, found great internship, great job, great salary. Everyone thinks you are crushing it. But inside you feel unfulfilled, unclear, maybe a little lost. And it's hard to say it, right? It's hard to put words to it and admit to it, but you feel a little lost. You know you're capable of more, but you don't know what more really looks like. And it's a hard place to be. Why? Because you're used to excelling at everything. Your identity is tied to achievement. They look at your name, look at Daniel, and they say, Daniel's a high achiever. He never falls. He just gets up on something bigger. He always builds, right? People expect you to have all the answers. And it could have an assessment, story you tell yourself that admitting to confusion feels like failure. Again, it's just a story. It's a story we tell ourselves often. And I had this old version myself. I was a combat officer in the Marine Corps. I like to control ground controller for aircraft dropping bombs or artillery strikes or naval gunfire. And I went to a good MBA school. I went to Rice in Houston. And then I tried investment banking. Then I built a startup around space hardware. Later, I went to McKinsey and Company. And I still felt like something was missing. Usually, MBA grads go to one of those three things. I tried all three, right? Consulting, investment banking, entrepreneurship. I felt like something was missing. On paper, I was winning. But then the question comes up, and I hear this often from others too. Is this it? That's the question that comes up often. Is this it? Okay. The breakthrough came when I realized that problem wasn't my circumstance. It was my approach to growth. I think it was the approach of my mindset, my identity. I needed someone to help me, to coach me through it. That's part of the reason why I do what I do today. So let's go a little bit deeper. Let's talk about 4 reasons why people get stuck. The first one I'd say is this achievement addiction. High performers love completing tough things. There's dopamine that comes from that. It just feels good to accomplish something. You put all your effort into it and you achieve it and you feel good about yourself. And then you're looking for the next thing, right? Because you need these external achievements to provide some kind of fulfillment, and they're fleeting. You always have to have the next hard thing. Oftentimes we're climbing ladders, right? I told the experience from military to MBA school to internship to full-time job, and then in the job you're trying to move up, and you're often climbing these ladders, but sometimes they're leaning against the wrong wall, right? Not all ladders go to where you want to go. I had one client I was working with. They said they had all the credentials and they were performing their role well, but it didn't feel like he was living to his purpose. So that's the first one. This achievement addiction is often a big challenge. The second one's the competence trap. You're so good at what you're doing, it keeps you there. I remember several Marines that I worked with, and they were so good at their job. They were always the one people were reaching out for help. And they're constantly putting out fires because they were the best ones, and it can lead to exhaustion, right? They're just overused and abused. They're so good. People keep you there oftentimes. Another one in the similar area of this competence trap is you're so good at something, there's a fear of being a beginner at something that you're not good at. And that experience handcuffs are holding you back, right? Often the success in one area is holding you back from greater success somewhere else. Right? I worked with another client. They said, I was so good at consulting. I mean, I need to stay here. Like, what else do I do? But it's not feeding my soul. That's that trap because you're so good at it. So that's the second one, right? The first one was the achievement addiction. The second one was the competency trap. The third one is the identity crisis. Your identity can be wrapped around those past achievements. Sure, we all know of stories of these old people talking about their time in playing high school basketball or their war stories when they were in their 20s, right? But the idea is your identity is wrapped in this past achievement, right? I am a military officer versus I'm a leader who happened to serve at this period of time. Sometimes it's very hard to look past your current role, your current industry, or something that just left, right? Especially a lot of veterans. So that's the third one, the identity crisis. And the last one is the perfection paralysis. This happens to a lot of high performers. They want to have it all figured out before they move. They're waiting for that perfect next step. It has to be something at top level or they're not going to do it. I remember I had a little bit of this when I was trying to get in the Marine Corps. I didn't want anyone to know I was trying to get in. I was training 6 days a week to get my physical fitness test. Really, I wanted my 3-mile time to be under 8 minutes. And I was trying so hard. And I didn't want anyone to know about it until I got in, right? I just kind of wanted it all figured out. And so oftentimes we have this paralysis. We don't want to move until everything's perfectly set up. The same drive for excellence that got you there often is keeping you stuck. I see that over and over and over again. So again, those 4 that I mentioned, 4 reasons high performers can get stuck is the achievement addiction, the competency trap, the identity crisis, and the perfection paralysis. If I go a little bit deeper, what's the real problem? Oftentimes it's our impatience. We want our growth to be linear. We should always be growing. I'm either growing or I'm not growing, right? But that's not entirely true. It's more of a spiral, okay? When I talk about the path of mastery, we talk about trying to get better over a long period of time. It's almost like a stock. There's going to be some ups and there's going to be some downs, but downs aren't necessarily bad, right? Sometimes you have to grow internally. Maybe there's transformational growth that you're having, not necessarily just promotion. Maybe there's linear growth. You try a different role and you learn something completely different about yourself, or you solve certain skills that you hadn't had before. There's a lot of growth that can happen, but it doesn't have to be this linear promotion-based or higher compensation-based or from different tiers of company-based, right? Those are the assessments that we make. Those are stories we tell ourselves, and it holds us back. And that goes back another one, right? It might be an internal scoreboard that's holding us back. It might be an external scoreboard. You're using other people's definition of success. This is dangerous because now you're giving credibility to other people to design and say what success is for you. Why does that happen? Because you haven't defined what fulfillment actually means for you. You have to define these things for yourself. So let's talk about solutions. I have 4 solutions here to talk about. The first one is identity. I'm big on identity because I've had to live through identity crises, whether that was sports, a big football injury in high school, whereas that was the Marine Corps, leaving the Marine Corps, where it was in my business. What am I? Am I a consultant? Am I a banker? Am I an entrepreneur? Why do I have to fit within these buckets, right? I think there needs to be a separation of who you are from what you do. Core values and mission stay constant. They can be expressed in different ways. Okay, you're not starting over, you're expanding. But it comes down to the identity, building that identity. And I love working with folks. When I was at McKinsey and Company, we were kind of the tip of the spear when it came to consulting. It was the very beginning. It was strategy. They paid us a lot of money because all the other consultants they would hire along the path, right, for implementation or any of the guardrails or issues along the way. It all started from the very beginning, which is strategy. What is our key strategy? What are we going to decide to go after? It had to be critically done correctly because everything else stemmed from that. And it's kind of similar personally for people. The strategy kind of comes to identity. And the second one, which I'm about to talk to, the identity is so important. I really enjoy working with guys to help them make that identity, make it theirs. The second one is to redefine your mission. Okay. We need to move from achievement-based goals to mission-based purpose. What do you want to have beyond your resume? Okay. What's the legacy that you're building? What's that mission in life that's so big that you can never check the box, but there's so many different ways to achieve it? Yes, you can have smaller missions as well. But there's something very empowering of knowing that there's a big North Star. And again, I love working with folks on how figuring this out, because then you can have alignment in what you're doing. It helps you a lot with this issue that we're talking about today. The third one is to embrace the beginner's mindset. This might seem interesting, right, to you as you're listening to this. But high performers need permission to not know everything, okay? Just because you have expertise in one area doesn't mean you're good at everything. I see this all the time in the healthcare field, right? Doctors have a lot of education, and often they're expected to be able to be good at leadership, at management, at finance, at sales. And it's like, well, they didn't get their PhD in that. But sometimes they think they do. And they start to run things like they know everything about these other very important functions. And it can cause a lot of issues with nurses, with MAs, with staff, because they're like, this guy thinks he's a know-it-all, right? But you don't need to know everything, okay? It doesn't automatically transfer. Being willing to be bad at something new is actually a strength. It's so important to give yourself permission to be a beginner, to try something new that you're not good at. That wonder of awe of a kid trying something different. All right? So that's why I have that. Embrace that beginner's mindset. And the fourth one's kind of connected to it. Okay? And I'm going to call it design your experiment. Let me make sure I spelled that right. I just put experiment there. Okay? Instead of making massive career changes, design small experiments. What's one thing you could try for 90 days? Something that's lower stake, something that you can learn a lot from, right? So those are 4 things that we can work to break through this challenge that high performers often have. Identity, mission, beginner's mindset, and experiment. A few little caveats that I'd like to say. Okay. The first thing is, like, because you're having this challenge, you're not broken. These are stories we tell ourselves. These are assessments. Okay. You're evolving. We're not human beings. We're just not the same all the time. We're human becomings. You're constantly evolving. If you're feeling stuck, it can be a sign that you're ready for something different, right? Maybe you just need to evolve, have that growth. Okay. And you're not stuck because you're failing. You're stuck because maybe you're focused on the wrong thing, right? Or you're succeeding in the wrong thing. Okay. So those are some caveats. Some other ones, some don'ts, right? Like, don't make drastic changes when you're feeling stuck. Okay. Like I mentioned, experiment, try some things. Also, don't assume the grass is greener on the other side. I saw that a lot in the Marine Corps. Some guys were like, well, infantry, we say it all the time. Well, if I get into recon, well, if I get into MARSOC, and then they realize when they get there, it's the same thing, just different standards, especially in the Marine Corps, because we still need to be Marines first, not like Special Forces or NSW where guys start growing beards and looking like cavemen, right? Like in the Marine Corps, you're always a Marine first. But I saw that a lot. They're like, well, if I get here, if I get there, grass will be greener. And then they realize it's not. So don't assume grass is greener on the other side. The other thing is, don't try to figure it out alone. Okay. This is a big tendency with a lot of high performers. I mentioned it before. We kind of like to feel or think that everything's perfect, right? We don't want to say anything until we know it's a good plan. But think about this. How easy is it for you to give advice to someone else? How hard is it to give advice to yourself? I mentioned a lot. I coach basketball, and I work with these shooters, and they spend so much time working on their shot. And they tell me all the things they've done, and they want to get better. And then I see them, and I realize, man, some of the basic fundamentals are off. You're either shooting in your face in your line of sight, or they're not balanced. It needs to be balanced, or you have a tendency to shoot sideways instead of straight. Maybe there's no spin. Maybe the spin's sideways. Maybe you're twisting your body in the air, and you just can't see for yourself. Sure, you could put a camera and see some things. You could see some things with the camera, but it takes different when you have a coach, someone who knows how to get people better. Trying to figure it out alone is a big warning, right? Don't try to go through it alone, right? You will go quicker by having someone help you. And then the other one is do get clarity first, then make some moves. You get clarity by doing things, not by thinking more, by doing things, reflect on it, chew on it, try something else, grow. And that's why I put on there the beginner's mindset. That's why I put on there experiment, right? These things help you get clarity. You get clarity by doing things. So as I wrap this up, if you're a high performer feeling stuck, you're exactly where you need to be. Okay. There's something inside of you saying something better can be. And I mentioned a few areas where you can play with it, try things out, because we're always hungry for something more. Okay. The feeling is your internal compass telling you it's time to grow. Something's not quite right. I love helping people work with this. I got a program, Career Growth Accelerator, right now to help professionals to accelerate their career. And part of it is working on these type of stuff. I have stuff with veterans as well. Okay. I do some one-on-one work. At the end of the day, the question is, what are you committed to? Maybe you had some big insight. Maybe there's one thing or two things that caught your attention that you're willing to try. As my coach tells me, insight without action is amusement. It's entertainment. You're like, oh, that's good. That's good. And if you're at the end of this video, maybe I entertained you enough to watch it to the end. Right? But without commitment, without doing something, you're not going to grow. Some people can do it themselves. Maybe out of 10, maybe one person can do it themselves. Maybe most of them come here for the entertainment and see my goofy self-talk to the camera, right, to all of you. And there's some people that are saying, I want help, right? I want help doing this, whether it's through a program or one-on-one or just having a conversation to see what the next steps are, right, for that clarity. So anyways, I encourage you to commit to something. Don't make this just amusement or entertainment. Do something. Do something that can help change your life, change all the people around you, because you have a lot of influence. You have more influence than you believe. And if you do need help, I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for listening for me today.